I'm Jessica Westrop with Manufacturing Works, and we're working in collaboration with Magnet to produce these presentations. But we have some special guests with us today from Rockwell Automation. They have facilities in Cleveland, and they're a global company, so they're all over the world, including a manufacturing facility in Twinsburg. And we have 6 panelists with us today. They are going to share their stories, the steps that they took to get there. And we're hoping that those of you listening will get a sense, because we know you're all making decisions right now, but you'll get a sense of what careers are in manufacturing and also at Rockwell.
We live in a world inspired by curiosity. Once you start wondering how things work, the possibilities seem endless. How are these cookies made so perfect and so delicious? How are crayons made in every color in the rainbow? How does a robot learn, and how will that make the world better? Answering these questions with our customers is what we do. At home, at work, or building the next generation workforce. At Rockwell, we're proud to be part of your everyday life and to deliver on what's possible for tomorrow. We make the world more productive, intelligent, and connected. And we don't stop at how. We wonder, what if? What if we could find innovative ways to treat diseases or protect workers far underground or miles out at sea? What if we could feed 10,000 hungry bellies a week, or millions? Our job is to help industrial companies and their people be more productive and the world more sustainable. At Rockwell Automation, wonder turns what if into what is. And that's expanding human possibility.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our panelists. We have Karen Leek. She's our early career engineer development manager. We have James Clark, director of quality assurance. Alia Brown, she's a process engineer. Lillian Gonzalez, she's an embedded software intern. Brandon Brown, project engineering and development. And Mickey Spina-Penovic, project process engineer. So we're going to get started with the questions. For the first question, each panelist is going to answer what were the beginning steps you took to get started in your career, and what advice would you give to someone who is starting theirs?
So honestly, the first step I took was letting my principal know that I had a very deep interest in engineering. So I entered the MC Squared STEM High School, which was already geared towards engineering, but I let my principal know, like, hey, if there's any career opportunities around this, just let me know so I could start to learn more about what engineering really takes. And that is how I began my internship at Rockwell when I was going into my 11th grade year of high school, and I've been there ever since.
Thank you. We can move on to Karen. Do you want to tell us the steps that you took and any advice you'd give to those of us that are joining us today?
Well, sure. And thank you for having us. And we're really excited about participating. In 8th grade, I attended a career event my mom sent me to, and I was like, oh, okay, I got to go. But while I was there was a gentleman that spoke about engineering. And since I liked math and science, I was like, hey, never thought about this. This is something, don't have to be in school forever, and I can make good money. And as I started my education, I realized this is a good fit. So career-wise, it was a little up and down. I tried many things because I have lots of interest, which is what's great about engineering. So I was able to problem solve in a lot of areas that drove me and my passion to wanting to help others get to the same place.
So I guess my career so far has been internships at Rockwell Automation. I got into the internship program through First Lego League. Rockwell Automation hosted a couple of season kickoff sessions. So I learned about the intern program at that point. And I would say, as far as advice goes, is take every opportunity that you can find and network with as many people as you can, because that will open up so many opportunities for you to explore your interests and to build relationships which will help you in the future.
So I echo that. Great inputs. I think it's very important to network with a lot of people, to really, not limit yourself, but talk to people from different backgrounds, different functions. What it will allow is for you to broaden your view and understanding of a particular topic, whether it be a career interest or a function. And the more folks you meet, interact with, the more support you'll have. Some of that networking will transition to mentorship, and then even stronger, sponsorship. By mentorship, those are folks who can help calibrate you, bounce ideas for career planning. But then a sponsorship, those will be the folks in the room that are responsible for making decisions, right? So these will be the folks that could vouch for you and say that I think she or I think he is ready for that next position. But it really starts with the networking. So that's a very important one that I found to be very helpful in my early career, and I obviously throughout my career journey.
Thanks, James. And I'm going to move on to question 2. So many of the students that we talk to, they believe that manufacturing is primarily just a production line, but actually manufacturing is a field that's continuously growing. So Lillian, what is your opinion on how the field is continuously growing from your perspective and your experiences?
When a lot of people hear the word manufacturing, you might think of images of people standing next to miles of conveyor belts and, putting things together piece by piece. But luckily, things have really changed since the days of the Henry Ford car assembly line. Instead of having to build projects using manual labor like we did back in the early 1900s, manufacturing is becoming more and more mechanized. And as you can guess from our name, Rockwell Automation is in the business of creating technology which makes manufacturing as automated as possible. And I think one of the coolest technologies that can be harnessed to do that is robotics. I've been an intern on the embedded software motion teams for about 1.5 years. And I've learned that there is so much that goes into creating the code that is used to control robots you might use on a production line. Well, for instance, there's different types of robots. There's a type called Scara, which looks like a flat swinging arm. And there's another type called Delta, which looks like a spider whose legs all connect at the bottom point. Each of these robots need different instructions to make them move, and a lot of math goes into figuring out how to write the code to make the robot move precisely how you want them to. Because these robots have such different shapes and they don't move in the same way, in order to control them, we need to develop instructions which work with their unique type. And so that's what my team does here at Rockwell Automation. I think the future of manufacturing is in robotics, and then beyond that, in artificial intelligence. And here at Rockwell, we're always innovating and looking to the future. And supporting the use of robotics is part of what we do to revolutionize manufacturing.
I agree with what Lillian said. The other thing I've noticed, and I've been working at Rockwell Automation in the manufacturing plant for 23 years, since I was 18, right out of high school. And not just the addition of automation and robotics and such, but also analytics and having someone analyze things. So really it's going away from doing the bone grinding toil, like the repetitive motion and things like that. We're getting more machinery to do that type of stuff, but now we need people to do, to support that machinery. So it's kind of a little bit of a shift in the skill set that's needed to keep the machines working and keep the machines working hard.
So James, in your current position, what does a typical day look like for you? Because I know you've had a number of positions within Rockwell?
Sure. So in my current role at Rockwell, I'd say a typical day is, I'd say I have about 6 hours of meetings. So most of my day is filled with meetings, strategy planning meetings. We actually went through a major reorganization where we made some pretty impactful changes. So we have to put a solid plan in place in order to move those changes forward. So a lot of planning, making sure we support the current needs of the business. So when I'm not involved with meetings, a lot of time I'll just step back and really think strategy, next moves, how do we better position the organization. I'll actually schedule follow-up discussions with key stakeholders to get their inputs or to review performance for feedback.
So with all those meetings, then what keeps you coming back? What keeps it fun and fresh and exciting?
Yeah. What really keeps it exciting is being able to delegate, right? So in this role, I have 75 people in my organization. In some cases, I've had up to 300 people.
Wow.
So in order to keep it fun and exciting, it's really identifying opportunities. Who's going to be the next leader? How can I delegate responsibility and have others help drive the strategy and provide mentoring and coaching. So I actually have a mentoring session today, with an employee that actually isn't in my organization. So that I really enjoy developing talent and helping others to do more for visibility and exposure, and helping them with their career path. So I find that very exciting.
Thanks, James. Sounds like you've had an exciting career. Brandon, once you get an entry-level job at Rockwell, what do you have to do to move up in the company and to get a pay increase?
I'll say the best way is networking. Networking with other organizations and groups and teams within Rockwell or any company that you work for is a big benefit, because they come up with new opportunities for you to take on for such as stretch goals, which was taking on new initiatives and new ideas and showing that you're able to take on the opportunity that's not a part of your day-to-day job, and show to upper management and others that you're in the community, in the company, that you're able to do this new ideas and fulfill things that need to be done for the company to move forward. So.
Thank you. And did you start as an intern at Rockwell?
Yes. Yes, I started my junior year of high school. So.
Great. Thank you. And then Karen, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about your internship program at Rockwell. So I'll have you chime in here.
So yeah, we have an outstanding program that allows high school students to come into our work environment, and we give them real work. It's not a science project. It's the same work that our other engineers and computer scientists are working on. And by doing that and challenging them to get engaged, to meet the team and begin building their network, we've seen some outstanding results. As Alia and Brandon both shared, and Lillian, they all started right out of high school. I remember when I took on this role of managing this internship, I was like, high school students coming in and doing this stuff? But what I found is we're not ready for the high schoolers versus the other way around. Often what we find is that this generation is so embedded in technology that they're ready to do the work. And it's just the other soft skills and corporate environment, ethics, and other things that are important to Rockwell that we need to help them grow in. So as James mentioned, making sure they have the right mentors, making sure they have the right sponsors, people who know what they're capable of, and challenge them to do even more. So you asked originally how you grow your career. That's how you do it, by building that network, making sure you have connections with right people who know what your skill is today and will challenge you to do things even differently. The key message that I would tell anybody about growing your career: you don't have to master everything before you move forward. And don't be afraid to move forward without knowing everything. The good news is that you're telling somebody, I'm intelligent, I can figure this out, I can learn, I can grow. So you walk in it long before you get there. Just walking in it, and the other things you learn and you grow and you put your energy behind. And in my opinion, that's how you move your career.
I agree with Karen. I just would add, that's a great explanation, and the exposure becomes important. Being able to step back and look to get an understanding of the broader organization, how the different functions come together. What is that value stream? What make up that value stream? And then you can start thinking about the inputs and the outputs. And to Karen's point, you may not have to work in a particular function, but the more you know, the more knowledge you have, the stronger your performance, because you have consideration of those other areas or those other functions that feed into your process. So being able to understand that at an early age, I think is very key. But again, it also gives you visibility, and you may step back and say, today I'm doing X, but tomorrow I want to do Y. Just by having that exposure and visibility into that, it can help you build a career progression and identify the functions through mentoring, through mentorship and sponsorship, and really piece together a nice career journey.
And what position did you start in, James, at Rockwell?
Yeah, so at Rockwell, so that's the tail end. So I've been at it for quite some time, but I started as a quality director in Rockwell. So prior to taking this role, I've been in executive leadership for probably a decade. But just kind of rewinding back to my earlier days, for me, the internships were key. And as a young intern, everything what Karen's saying, I was tasked with meeting leadership, right? And the more folks I met, the more advice I would get. But by the time I was hired at General Motors, I already had a list, right, of people who I could turn to that gave me great career guidance and also that challenged me. So we can't overstate the importance of, that networking, talking to mentors, making it known what your desires are, what you want to do, and then getting help with piecing that journey. You'll find that leaders, they like seeing young energy and people with a desire and passion. They feel pretty compelled to be invested with that growth and development, partly because it reminds them of themselves, right? When they were younger and how they were a go-getter. So I don't think we can underestimate or overstress the importance of that.
Thank you,
And
James.
I'm gonna jump in real quick and add a little bit to that.
Yeah.
The other piece that I would add is, especially as a young person, do not be afraid to make mistakes. So you are sometimes hesitant to speak to leadership, even though they say that their door is wide open. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. It's what you learn from the mistake and how you move forward. That's what people are looking for. And as James mentioned and others have mentioned, that people in leadership really want to see the next generation develop. So they want you to fail early and learn from it and move on. So if you're thinking, I could never do that, challenge yourself to do that, because they're wanting to help those individuals with that energy, with that drive that want to move ahead.
Thanks, Karen. And I actually met you, Karen, because of your internship program. I worked with a student that went through her program, and it was quite an amazing program. So if you have the opportunity and you're interested, I would say apply. We are going to be putting a link in for their career website, but obviously you can go to their website and find it as well. The last person we want to get perspective from is Nikki here, on your journey and what your perspective is on when somebody comes into Rockwell. How can they advance? And I know you said you have been with the company for 23 years, so want to hear from you.
Yeah, so I was 18 years old, started right out of high school. I was a machine operator, did a lot of things by hand. And as I completed a technical degree, for me, the key was just keep educating. So finished a technical degree, I became a technician. And good companies like Rockwell have a tuition reimbursement program, so I took advantage of that. I went to college late in my life, but I spent 9 years to get my bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering. I started when I was, I believe, 24, 25 years old. And Rockwell ended up paying for about half of that by the end of it. And that opened the doors to engineering and so on. So I've really gone from all these different perspectives, and that's one of the main things that I believe sets me apart from someone else who hasn't gone through all of that. Is I have different perspectives that bring new value. And the other thing I really wanted to add is every year we have what we call performance and development reviews, and every employee in Rockwell has development goals. So the company really wants you to grow and really sets up these reviews you have with your manager, where you work on development goals, usually at least 3 of them, where you're working on bettering yourself, not just for your current position, but for any future position. So that just helps drive that upward movement and the ability to do so.
Hey, Jessica, there have been a couple of questions that came
sure.
in. Do you want me to ask those now? Do we have time?
Yes, we do. Go ahead.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure. And, if I miss your question, speak up, because we want to make sure they get answered. But the first one I see is specifically for James. James, someone's wondering if you are salaried or hourly.
Sure. I replied, I am salaried. I don't know that I think I was hourly as an intern, but ever since my professional career kicked off, I've been on the salary side. I just want to give whoever asked that question, was there more to it? As were you looking at the benefits of either, or I'm just trying to see what's behind the question?
Yes, I was kind of wondering about, because you work such long hours, does it really even out?
Yeah.
Salaried?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. I thought that's probably what you were poking at, but I can tell you, the higher up you grow in the organization, typically the more time and hours you put in. Certainly it has its benefits, but I don't get a true vacation. I may be away from the computer, but the emails don't stop, right? So there's always the expectation that you are available to lead the organization. If you get a break for a few days, great, but let's be clear, there's a lot of work and a lot of investment of time, the higher you grow within the company. So it's really, as you think that through, it's, where do you want to be, right, in your career, and what are you willing to pay, to get there, right? So those are 2 key questions you have to ask yourself.
Could I add on to that as well? So I started hourly as I was a machine operator, and as I became a technician, I was what we call, it was a different level of career band, where I was like salary exempt, which means I could get overtime. And then as I became an engineer, then I was just salaried, where I do not get any extra pay. And I will just say it was a pretty linear growth for me the whole time along. My pay per hour, if you will, was fairly linear.
And if I could add to that as well, this is part of why you want to find career paths that align with your true interests, with your true passion. Because to be honest, there are times when all of us, I'm sure, can say that we've worked 12, 13, 14, 15, sometimes 20 hours on something, but it's driven and it's upheld because you are so engaged in the work that you're doing. That's a lot more challenging if you are in a space that just doesn't really align with your true skills and your true interests. So I can't overemphasize how important that is. And I personally believe that when you look at the benefits of your salary versus the hours, it does kind of balance itself out. And plus we have at least many of us from Mayfield, we have the extra benefit of working from home at time. Right now, everybody is, but we've had that for a while, so that helps balance it as well.
In the work-life balance, that's very important, right? To remind ourselves, why we're doing it, right? Especially those of us, that have a family. And as you grow and get older, your priorities change. You're able to do a little bit more So that I think overall it's a balance. And to my point earlier, certainly I have those long hours, but I think there's a reward that goes with that as well. So just additional data point there.
Wonderful. All great points. Thank you all for chiming in. Couple of Q&As that I just want to read from the chat real quick, just to make sure everyone gets to hear it, just in case you aren't able to see the chat. Riley asked about what knowledge are interns expected to have beforehand. And Alia answered, you're not expected to know anything in particular related to the job you're going to do. I assume that means because Rockwell will train you and get you developed to where you need to be.
Yes.
Interns are expected to have good grades to get in and have some involvement in STEM activities in school.
So if I could add to that real quick, so because currently I'm the hiring manager, what I'm looking for is to hear from you and see from you that you're interested in this stuff. And it comes across very quickly. Somebody that's in a class because their advisor told them and they're taking it, when they're telling me about the stuff they do, it's plain and clear they have no real interest. I'm looking to see that you're really engaged, because if you're interested in technology, in engineering, in fixing stuff, solving problems, we can work with that. And so to Alia's point, you don't have to have a lot other than having been involved and be able to express to me that you have a real interest, and we can build upon that.
Yeah. And one of the benefits, so I've been at 5 or 6 different companies, right, along my professional journey. And I can tell you, Rockwell really values its interns. Up to the senior vice president of the function that I work in, the integrated supply chain, which would include quality, supplier quality, continuous improvement. The senior vice president is really challenging us as leaders to have high impactful assignments. He's made it clear this isn't busy work. So I think it's a privilege and an honor to be selected to do an internship at Rockwell. It'll be a good intro if you choose to have a career here, because you're going to work on a meaningful project that's important to the business.
So we're going to go ahead and close today. Thank you all so much for being here and being engaged. Thank you to our panelists for sharing your stories. This was a really rich and robust conversation, and we really appreciate your time today. And we hope that those students that are with us learn more, not only about manufacturing, but about the opportunities that Rockwell has to offer. So we do have the website for their careers. Thanks, everybody. Have a great afternoon.